The first bulldozer was brought up on there and roared up on the bank while the environmentalists were all around in their rubber duckies. They tried to block it, and then there was tears, and but a great show of defiance by them as well. And they were to stay here for a long, long time after that. I came next in, I think, May of 1983. I'd been elected to Parliament, and there was a parliamentary group coming in, and I was the only one who wasn't invited. But I came overnight anyway and got on the bus, and they couldn't do anything about that. Then on the helicopter, and flew in with the leader of the opposition and the Hydroelectric Commission, and landed, and surrounded by workers with some pretty nasty placards. They'd all gone on strike because I was there. So it delayed the dam works for 3 hours, which was a bonus. But a guy with a lump of 4B2 drew a square around me and said, "Step out of here, Brown, and we'll knock your bloody brains out." So I stepped out and said, this is our own, this is everybody's country here. It actually had been National Park, and was National Park. But there was only 2 police, and there were scores and scores of workers with placards, and it was pretty ugly, I guess, scene. And the police pleaded with me to come down and get on a boat on the river because they said they couldn't guarantee my safety and things wouldn't get out of hand. So I did that, while the other politicians, the Labor politicians, went and had scones and jam in the workers' mess. Never forgotten that, because not one of them, including the future leader of the opposition, Michael Field, said anything in that situation, where of course every member of Parliament had a right to be here equally and had a right to be shown around equally. December the 14th, I flew over here with Norm Sanders, the then Democrat member of Parliament. He had a light plane, and it was like a cross between a festival and a sea battle. The Denison Star was in the middle of this, Reg Morrison's cruise ship. The JLM bringing blockaders up was there as well. From Strawn. That was Reg's old cruise boat, and without that the blockade wouldn't have happened. Brought thousands of people up and down river. There were police boats everywhere. There were shark cats, which the Wilderness Society had hired from the Abalone divers to bring journalists up, including Rosalind Beebe from The Age. And so there were lots of cameras, lots of journalists. And then of course there was the armada of rubber duckies and other craft from the Wilderness Society and the blockaders. So the whole place was, down this reach of the river, was full of colour and flags and police boats going everywhere, and of course people being arrested. And the first 3 people were arrested just upriver from here, with the famous footage of the policeman saying, "You're under arrest, you're under arrest, you're under arrest," and these 3 young fellows being taken off. And at the same time, up on the Franklin River itself, Bob Burton and a couple of others were being arrested as well. And on that first day, dozens were arrested, but by the time I was arrested 2 days later, the tally was up close to 300. And so it went on. 1,500 people were arrested during the course of the following weeks, and 500 of us went to, women and men, went to Riston Jail.
You're under arrest, you're under arrest, you're under arrest.
I was a bit used to it because my dad had been a policeman and I'd been locked up when I was 6 for not eating my spinach. But it was very hard for some of the folk who were there. But this is now part of Tasmania's international fame and renown. The Franklin River last year was declared the world's top whitewater rafting river by an American magazine, Outdoors magazine, whatever. It's a sensation in itself, and its history. It's Aboriginal history, it's convict history, it's pining history, and the history that was made by thousands of people coming to this very remote part of Australia. And then the Hawke government winning the election on March the 5th, 1983, and on that night, Bob Hawke announcing the dam in Tasmania will not go ahead. It's the only thing he did announce. We were all together on a king-sized bed with the TV, watching the TV in Melbourne at the Windsor Hotel, and don't tell them, but there was people jumping up and down on the bed, and you know, it was, still we had to wait for the High Court decision, but there was it was a public, it was the nation responding to one of the most beautiful places on the planet. Thank God it was protected. The hydro admitted later that they'd got their figures wrong. We would have lost, we'd have been $2 billion more in debt. There are only 32 jobs attached to that dam itself, whereas hundreds and hundreds of jobs have come out of the growth of tourism and hospitality and recreation adventure here on the West Coast since then. So it's been a good bargain for Tasmania, whichever way you look at it.